welcome to my channel. My name is Ebike Osuma. I am, as always, your storyteller who is committed to serving you inspiration and bite-sized wisdom nuggets that help you stay on course with God's original design for your life. If this is your first time here, I want to specially welcome you. Thank you so much for stopping by. This means everything to me. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, if this is your first time, please do remember to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Yes, I'm sure you can see the video, the topic of our video already on your screen. Um, it says you will not always feel in love, right? You will not always feel in love. Now, if this is your very first video on my channel, the first video you're watching, in previous videos, I actually talked about, we're actually sharing lessons from 14 years of being married. We turned 14 years on the 25th of October, 14 years in marriage, and we thought to share some lessons we have learned along the way. So this is episode 3 of the marriage lesson series. So if you're wondering, like, how do you stay married for 14 years and still counting, and you say that you will not always feel in love? So what do you do? How do you stay married when those lovey-dovey feelings are not always going to be present? If you want to find out, please do not go away. I will be right back after the break. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you for not going away. So we're going to be diving into our video, into our topic for today's video, right away. So the topic, like it says, you will not always be feel in love. You will not always feel in love, right? You know, all those mushiness you felt when you were courting, all those lovey-doveyness, and all of that before you got married. Trust me, they will not always be present. You will not always feel like, oh, I feel over the moon. I just have this, what's it called, feel good hormones running through me. It will not always be like that in marriage. We've learned that firsthand in the last 14 years of being married, right? So, what do you do if you don't feel in love? One of the things that I have learned, that we both learned, is that it's so wrong to wait on our feelings before we do the right thing, or to allow only our feelings just give us directions. Yes, those feelings are good, but in real life scenarios, life is going to be happening from the moment you get married. Life is just going to be happening. Children will come, you would have to work, there'll be bills to pay, there'll be serious issues that were not there when you guys were just visiting each other, seeing each other every, once in a while, maybe a couple of times a week. It's a totally different ball game when you are married. Now, what makes those feelings? Why do you feel all of that sweet, gooey feelings just rushing through you when you are still courting, when you are still dating before you get married? One of the reasons is this. I came across a research that was carried out in the United States, and it was carried out amongst people who were involved in deliberate acts of kindness. And the conclusion, in a nutshell, from that research was that everybody who carried out these acts of kindness, between them and the people they were kind to, there was this the gap between their heart was closed, right? There's this wide gap that can be the heart of everybody, from strangers in a community. Even though you live in the same community, there can be this distance. But it was said from that research that while people went about their neighborhood, their environment, being kind to each other, being kind to one another, showing kindness to other people, there was this special bond that wasn't there before, that formed in their heart. So that explains why in courtship it looks like things are sweeter, because then you are in this place where you are actually trying to still impress each other, right? You open the door for her. She's walking into a restaurant, you're opening the door. She's about to get into your car, you're opening the door. You're still in the place where you're trying um, to impress her. And you the lady, you're talking right, you're being very prim and proper. He's not seeing you with your slumber net or your hair net, like we call it in Nigeria. He's not seeing your wake up face, right? He's only seeing your makeup face, right? So everything is just posh, prim and proper. So when all of that is going on, you are buying him gift yourself as a lady. The guy is not the only one buying you gift. So your hearts are knit together because of the act of kindness you are showing to each other, right? So that when I saw that research, I realized that, oh, that explains a lot of things that even then I did not even realize was responsible for, what was going on at the time. So I'm going to share an encounter we had, and maybe that was in the third or fourth year of our married life. I'm not so sure, but I know it was definitely before the seventh year. Myself and my husband had this very serious disagreement. It was a very heated argument. I can't remember what it was about. Thank God I have such a bad memory for stuff like that. So but I know we were very upset with each other, and then he went into his study and he shut the door. Me, I went to stay in the living room, and in my mind I was like, no, I'm not even going to talk to you today. I'm not speaking with you today. I'm very, very upset. So we just sat apart like that, and the day was going on. I'm not sure. Okay, maybe our first daughter was in school. I can't remember, but I know it was still quite early. So I didn't really have any other adult in the house, any other person to speak to, right? So I was just there. Then that was a time where my husband had this habit of taking Nutri-C. I'm sure you remember Nutri-C, that um, orange flavored powder you pour in water. So he had this habit of taking at a particular time in the afternoon. So while he was working, I went to the kitchen in that angry state. I was still like in this, I'm not talking to you kind of state. So I went to the kitchen. I saw the Nutri-C and I decided to make a glass for him. Right? Remember, we're not talking to each other. But I just saw it. I'm like, he's supposed to drink this. Let me make it for him. So I made it and I took it to him. So when he saw it, he looked at me and he was like, thank you. And then I walked away. Then a few minutes later, the pictures are quite foggy right now, but I think he came out and he apologized. And I apologized for my part too. And the matter was behind us. Do you get? The moment I brought that to him, first and foremost, I had pulled down the walls that were that were or the wall that was quickly rising between our hearts, right? So that was then I didn't even understand it. I didn't know there was this scientific explanation to all of that. So when I did that, then I realized that okay, it doesn't have to do, it doesn't matter what is going on and how you guys are feeling. If you will just choose the right thing, if you will just choose the right to do the right, to be kind to the other person, it's called that's what do I call it? That anyhow feeling you're having, and you're just like, oh, I'm just upset with this person. It just vaporizes, it just evaporates, and it's out of the way, and you guys are back on the same page. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't let anyone deceive you and tell you that you only have to do the right thing when you feel like it. In marriage, that is only going to keep you in a very hard place. You do not wait for you to feel good before you do the right thing. That was such a big lesson I learned very early. So over the years, that has kept up, and I realized that the moment you do an act of kindness, it actually triggers feel good hormones inside of you. You feel better about yourself. You feel better about the person you are being kind to, even when the person was just maybe mean to you or someone you don't really know. There's just this way your heart feel bonded, right? So imagine if I waited to feel good before I did the right thing, before I was kind to my husband again. We would have waited a long time. Only God knows how many couples have actually ended their marriages because they were waiting to feel good. So that was such a vital lesson. Like acts of kindness to each other is what fuels those good feelings. It's not the other way around. The good feelings do not fuel acts of kindness. Your act of kindness fuel those good feelings. That's why when you hear people say that love is choosing the other person. Love is preferring the other person, putting the other person ahead of you. That's actually what love is in a nutshell. When you look at what love is in First Corinthians chapter 13, all you are seeing there is selflessness. That's the one word that sums up love. There's nothing about how you are feeling. There's nothing about, oh, this is how I'm not in the mood. It is what you choose every day that keeps fueling the bond between the two of you. I think that explains why during Christmas time it looks like, oh, the world is just sweeter. People are just kinder, people are nicer, because Christmas time is the time when people give. And when we are giving, it is closing the gap between us in our heart, even between among strangers. And by the time that happens, it just releases even into the atmosphere a positive energy. There's just love, there's just joy. It was when I was looking at that research, I was like, okay, this really explains why at Christmas time, it's like the world is sweeter, the world is nicer. We don't want the season to end. But when we get into January, it's as though the atmosphere shifts. Why? Because in January, people are getting back to being what's the word now? Practical about their spending. Nobody's dashing out money. Nobody's giving out gift randomly. Everybody's like, this is a new year. We have to keep manage our resources and all of that. And then that sweetness that was there in December gradually fades away. That can happen in marriage. That sweetness between you can actually fade away if you leave it to chance and say, oh, we're just going to be fine because my husband is a pastor. Oh, my wife is from a very good family. She's a very respectful girl. She's not rude to me. You'll be amazed at how many beautiful marriages have gone cold just because of this seeming irrelevant thing. They just overlook it and assume that, oh, as long as I don't feel like being good to my spouse, then my marriage is over. My marriage is we're no longer good for each other. My marriage is no longer worth it. No, that's not what it means. It means that after you are married, all those sweet feelings you had in the beginning, the reason they seem to be settling is because you guys are no longer in that place where you're trying to consciously impress each other. But guess what? We need to still keep on impressing each other. That is where marriage begins to fall apart. I don't know so does that lie. That marriage will just work even when you're sleeping, even when you're doing nothing. That is such a big lie. We need to roll up our sleeves and sit down and put in the work. Marriage will not work itself. We need to put in the work. You need to consciously get up in the morning, maybe leave a love note for your wife as you're going to work, or leave a love note in your husband's in his shirt pocket, in his suit pocket as he's going to work, something you know he can find while he's in the office. Say kind words to each other. It is a deliberate choice. If you say today I'm feeling anyhow, I'm just going to be shouting at my wife and my husband, just be prepared for the result or the effect of that kind of behavior, right? I'm sure you know it's not going to be pleasant at all. So that was a very major lesson we learned, and we are still consciously walking in our marriage. That is why a spouse can still look evergreen to you after 14 years, and my husband can still come back home and it's still the best part of the day when he walks through the door, right? Because we consciously choose to be kind to each other. We choose to show each other those actions that keep bonding us in our heart. Yes, there are days where you slip into selfishness. So there are days where you just want to be petty. But as soon as you catch yourself, retrace your step and get back to the place of selflessness. Don't wait for the other person and say, if I keep doing this, you take me for granted. No, because by the time you're kind to your spouse, it's going to also trigger that feeling of, hey, I'm worthy. Somebody thinks, my wife thinks highly of me, my wife thinks I deserve this kind of special treatment, and it will roll over and it's going to pour back to you that um, act of kindness and love, right? And then you guys keep going on and on and on. Do not forget this, do not forget this, do not ever forget this, that marriage will not work itself. You have to put in the effort. You have to keep doing, choosing the right things, choosing your spouse over yourself, choosing acts of kindness. If someone has deceived you and told you the moment you don't feel like being around your spouse, then it's over. Or go find somebody in the office and be chummy with that person, or someone you dated before, or a friend online. That person is just out to ruin your life. That's not the solution. The reason the newest guy on the block looks attractive to that lady who thinks her marriage is over? Do you know why? They are both polite to each other. That guy is giving her attention. She's giving him attention. She's telling him nicely, like, oh, you look nice. I like your tie. Your haircut is good. Where do you cut your hair? Oh, I like how you gave that presentation at work today. You're such an amazing person. And as she's saying that, it is releasing feel good hormones in her body, right? And then she gets drawn to that person. So if only she remember that, okay, this thing also works in my husband's direction, and she retraces her steps, she would end up being in such a mess she never planned, right? So remember this, you will not always feel in love, but you have to keep choosing to be good to each other. That will keep fueling those good feelings, and it will never be the other way around. I hope this has helped somebody. I hope this has helped you. I hope this is making you realize that, okay, it's not as though my husband has suddenly become a bad person or my wife has become a bad person. It's because I was waiting for my feelings to make me do the right thing. Not anymore. You need to get up and go choose your spouse over yourself. Prioritize them, and you come back and see that, oh wow, this thing really works, and it's really keeping us bonded in our heart. And before I close, remember that especially in the season where children begin to come, it changes a lot of things. You need to even be more intentional than ever before. You're going to have a wife who is sleep deprived. In fact, both of you may become sleep deprived in those early weeks when the baby arrives, because you are going to be maybe trying to help your wife when she's feeling sleepy. You are both going to be stretched thin. So that when that begins to happen, that is when most marriages experience their first major crack in their relationship. So you should be even much more intentional at that time and keep staying kind to each other. Don't wait for those feelings so they can just pack their load and go wherever they want to go if you are waiting for them. Keep putting in the work. Remember, the lovely aroma you're hearing from the neighbor's kitchen is only coming out because that neighbor went out of his or her way to assemble the ingredients and to put them in that pot. So know that that same aroma can come from your kitchen if you also put in the work. Thank you so much for watching this video. Till I come your way again with another lesson from our marriage lesson series. Remember to subscribe if you haven't. Share this video with your friends, your family, your community, your tribe. Turn on the notification bell so that when I drop a new video, you are the first to know and you're not in the dark. Thank you so much. Until I come your way again, keep choosing love, life, and peace.